What's to say of your group that you have that emotion of last week, just get back on course and ride it through North Melbourne like you did today?
It was pleasing to finish the way we did, and we were challenged too today. I thought we responded really well to a challenge, and we knew coming in North were a strong stoppage side, and they showed us that in the second quarter. And then, we had a chance to regroup at halftime, and that's the most pleasing part, was what we were able to do after halftime. So, we challenged, came out and got the game back onto our terms and played some great footy in that second half. I think, and where I sit on that, we had 21 points against in the second half, after we conceded 51 in that first. So for where we're trying to go and what style of game we're trying to put out there, that second half was really pleasing, really pleasing.
The feedback from Brett Ratton is that the work rate that your players have is what he wants to see from his. So you start hearing compliments like that, considering the journey you've been on. How much does that say that you've made your trademark really stand out?
Oh, it's great to hear. We talk to our players about that. A lot of stuff we do is for us internally and for our supporters. We play a certain way, but to hear that from our opposing coach is, it's reward for our guys for the effort, because they do. Our guys work really hard, and when we get it wrong, sometimes that's because we're trying to work too hard. Now, the first half today, there was no lack of work rate. We just weren't playing our style, our brand, and we ignited them at times in that first half. So what was most pleasing from our point of view is we're going to have that work rate week in, week out, because we've trained it. But our maturity we showed second half today was where we need to be if we want to compete.
With Riley O'Brien playing the way he did, were you surprised Goldstein went out at half time?
No, I'm not sure. There could be a number of reasons that they decided to go that way. I don't know what they are. I can't speak for them. But Rob was influential today. I thought even around the ground, he had a chance to kick three or so there. He's going to have to work on his bananas. But he was influential, I thought he had some ball around the ground where he was, in the air, and he's playing some good footy at this point, which is pleasing for our group. That gives, Riley Thilthorpe coming in there. Riley seems to take his game to another level when he's given that opportunity on ball. So those guys are, a nice duo at the moment.
Just on the first half, you've been big on saying your attack is built off the defence. I guess how alarming, not to be glass half empty after a result like that, but how alarming was to concede 51 points, and what did you actually change?
Well, it wasn't alarming at all. It was really obvious. We're able to look at vision at the break. We're able to sit down and basically talk through exactly what it is. So the most positive part is when we aren't playing well, it's clear, because it's not the way we play. And our guys, they can see that. It's probably our next work on, which we did well today, is getting it done without needing that time out, without needing, the halfway point. So no alarm bells at all. In fact, it's probably, from a coaching point of view, it's great to see, because it's like, well, that's when we're not doing it right, and this is when we are. And as you said, Rich, the one thing we don't have to coach at this club is work rate and intensity and effort. And so we can get to work on the X's and O's and how we're going to win games of footy.
Matthew, when you see your players absolutely create space and know how to execute it into that space to score, is that when you can sit back and say, this team has got something that understands how to play that style of attacking footy? You can sit back and actually enjoy yourself as well?
I enjoy myself all the time.
Not always, surely.
Oh, no, it's all about... the game's the game. We love the game. We had a conversation at halftime about putting a smile on your face. We were angry and a little bit frustrated in that second quarter. And we came down in the rooms and it was, what's the point of being angry? We're going to play footy for our local club if we're not here. Pay for our shorts and socks, and we had that conversation. And you enjoy it and you smile with your mates. Well, we're all mates. We've built that connection as a group, and so the second half we went out to enjoy ourselves and play our footy, and we're able to do that. But your point around the guys that can really see the ground and open it up, there's no doubt our guys are maturing into that level. I thought even you're probably talking about Rochelle and and Walker, Dawson. I thought even Shoal today showed that, what he can do with the ball in his hands. I thought Hinge today, that's the best game I would say that Hinge's played for us, and it wasn't only with the intercept, but it was his ability off that to be composed and use the ball. So some of that hopefully is becoming contagious, where they're learning from some of our better ball users, both by training with them and playing alongside them.
I was going to ask you about Hingy. How significant is the fact that 2 weeks in a row now you've been able to lose a key early and be able to switch it around and have someone like him stand up in their absence?
Yeah, we lose a back nearly every week. It's that's because our guys put their body on the line. Now Butsy today was unfortunate, but that's what he does week in, week out. Puts his body on the line, and I'm on Butsy. He's feeling a lot better in the rooms. Disappointed because he's going to miss next week, but that's obviously player welfare and safety that's involved with that. But yeah, for others to step up, he's been a real positive for us, and we've got others sitting in the wings at the moment. They'll play tomorrow. That are chomping at the bit to get in and play AFL footy. And that's why we're performing so well behind the ball, is because that pressure from below, but also everyone's learning from everyone else. But we had to adjust it last week at halftime. We did it again slightly earlier this week, and guys like Chase Jones who have to adjust their game in that moment, it's a credit to him for what he's able to do as well. He goes back and plays his role, and Hingy finds himself on the end of a lot of it today. Hingy was very, very good, don't get me wrong, but I'm hoping he understands what the team's done for him to be able to play that way.
What do you make of Ben Key's game today? Obviously, he was smashed by Eddie Maguire during the week. He was damaging midfield and attack today. He was pretty influential, especially in the first half.
I didn't see Eddie smashed him. I didn't realise that. I thought he was, we had such an even contribution across the board today, but I think Keezy had a really big impact. A lot of times when it goes unnoticed how often he is in our forward line and then finds himself in our back half, shortly after. So today I thought he moved as well in transition as I've seen him for weeks. And then when he had the ball in his hands, he was composed, especially that second half. We watched a few edits post-game in review, and he was involved in those edits where just his work rate, his work rate's second to none, but today I thought he had even more composure with the ball in his hands.
Matthew, you managed Walker weeks ago. Is there any thought that you would have to manage Sloan, or won't he let you, because he's missed so much footy that you won't even have that conversation?
We've managed Sloaney slightly throughout the year. So he's played slightly less game time to a lot of our other mids. He's played a little bit more outside to what he has in the past. Sloaney's always been that in and under player. So he's feeling quite fresh at the moment. Now that could turn quickly, because I thought today he did a lot more of the heavy work. We've got to be mindful of that and careful that we're not pushing that too hard. But he's been so influential for us later in games, being able to play slightly less game time. So, yeah, it's something we'll keep an eye on. Tex was great. He understands it, that it's going to help him, sort of get through the season and be at his best, when we really need him. The season goes pretty quickly though. We now come down to 8 weeks, and before you know it, you're trying to find more wins from less games. But at this point, those two guys are really a big factor in why we're performing so well.
You must get through with your pressure just in general. I think it was your second highest tackle count of the year. You obviously clearly didn't take the foot off the gas in the second.
Yeah, and that comes from our transition, our work rate to get numbers where we can. When we make mistakes, which we always do, there's mistakes in our game. We're there to butter up and tackle, get that physicality in. So, back to our work rate, we know what makes us a better team. We've got to continue to embrace that transition, especially now going into next week. We get Essendon at Marvel. That's going to be a big challenge for us. That game can turn into a lot of up and back indoor, but we'd like to think we go there and use some of that work rate. We haven't necessarily performed that well at the ground, but that's part of our journey. We will continue to build momentum into what we'd like to see us still in the fight in another 7 or 8 weeks.
Is that an 8-point
I think most of them are now. Yeah, it's interesting because I sat there last night watching Sydney Geelong trying to work out who to barrack for, but ultimately you just got to get the job done. We're in a position now where we're in the fight, and if we continue to get the job done like we did today, well then it's really up to us.
So you know how weeks ago you told us they had the belief that was their want from the very beginning. Now they've got a hand on that possible finals appearance. Who do you feel their group is there, that desire rather than just belief? What's their desire like?
The desire's always been there. I mean, even if you go back 2 years ago, we've never lacked desire. Every player on our list starts the season that we're here to play finals footy. That will never change, and I'm not sure there's any club that comes into a season and doesn't think that.
But you know what I'm saying about it? You all want to do it, but there comes a point whereby you actually are holding it. You go, there is a difference between teams where you say they're not going to give that up because they've got more than just belief.
Yeah, that's part of maturing as a group. You've matured to a point where you now know what it takes to hold on to it, and that's where we sit at this point. You know, we need to play every week like it's our last, because it almost is. Well, I think now, you know, you look at statistics, we've got to win a certain amount of games to do it. That's not going to be easy. That's going to be a really tough road for us. But today's a good step in the right direction.
How does a group that has a lot of players that haven't been through that before, in terms of finals experience, and yourself even as a coach, how do you embrace that? What are the key elements to embracing that challenge of being in that?
Yeah, we've been in similar positions where we've had opportunities and we've learnt maybe from what we haven't quite got right, and we'll continue to do that. Yeah, we learned a lot from last week. We played on a huge stage against, you know, the best team in the competition, or arguably the best team in the competition, and we weren't able to get the job done. But we learned so much from that game, as we did round 7 when they beat us as well, and we just popped that one to one side, and we'll use that when we need it. But we learned some stuff from today as well, from the first half to the second half. That's where we stay. We look at the process we're working through, and we just stay in that space. We don't worry about the outcome. That looks after itself. So I know I haven't answered your question, but I know what you want me to talk about, and it's like we don't look at it. We just put our heads down and go to work.
The pressure in terms of the finals.
There's that word again.
It's going to naturally come from, you know, you said it yourself that they're all 8-point games from here. How do you make sure that the group that is such a young group does stay focused on it?
Well, we're real about it. We're real about where we sit. We're not going to hide from it and not talk about it. We openly discuss exactly what we want, but then we come back to what it is we've got to do to get there, and we've still got work to do to get there. We've got a really tough run as far as what we need to win from the remaining games. But if we get ahead of ourselves and start thinking about that, well, then we're not concentrating on Essendon, that's where our mindset is right now. They're all in there at this point preparing for that game.
Thanks, guys.